Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We definitely have a series on our hands, and F in the chat for Thomas James, aka TJ, for unfortunately his prediction will not be coming true for Polar Ace to sweep out 100 Thieves 3-0, but I still stand by my prediction for the 3-2. However, I'd be content for a 3-1 as well from Polar Ace, but 100 Thieves definitely have the makings of a reverse sweep if they can play like that every single game here, Cubby.
You know what? It was a much different strategy coming out from them, but I really liked it, and it really was reminiscent of the old 100 Thieves next with Kenby, right? We're going to take a strong level one, we're going to take a winning jungle matchup, and we are going to play to split the map, invade your buff, play aggressive, and what a team effort coming out from the squad to really make sure that NXI gets ahead. And this is what we saw yesterday when they were going up against Radiance, right? They were playing aggressively with this Graves in Italy. They were invading, they were making sure that NXI gets off to a good start, and think of all the resources that 100 Thieves Next burned into that, right? They used Fallen Bandit's TP immediately, like at that level one, just to ensure that he gets the buff, splits the map. He almost double buffed too. Like he lost the smite fight on the red. And for the entire game, I mean, Frost Force just couldn't get into the game even because of the fact that he was already 2-3 levels down.
Yeah, this feels like the 100 Next of old here. And after watching yesterday's games on UPL, this is what I was expecting, right? They won 3-0 there. They're picking these carry junglers. They had fallen on weak side, and Jan's popping off on his Kalista feels like a common trend in this series, by the way. Maybe have some eyes on that pick in the next draft. But yeah, after watching UPL, this is the kind of gameplay that I was expecting. I'm glad we get to see at least a glimpse of it here, and they pick up that first game of the series for them. But they're still at match point, so they have to do that two more times. They are going to advance to finals, guys.
Yeah, it was a huge adaptation from 100 Thieves overall, and as you were both alluding to, that level one is where we have to start here for this roster. And normally, as someone who plays a lot in Italy and plays a lot of jungle myself, it is a dream when you can get your entire team to invade level one with you that late into the game, just as the buff is starting, and that patience that they needed to wait for one unsuspecting character to just walk into the bush right under that blue buff allows them to net first blood. And without a leash, Kindred is definitely a champion that can snowball pretty effectively and is ranged, has decent combat stats. But, without being able to reach her marks, or if she can't even get her first buff, her level one is absolute dog. Because it is just feels so bad for Kindred to not be able to be level 2 right off the gate because she starts with her W level 1. And so despite being able to secure level 2 from that red buff, Frost Force goes for a big play under the mid turret, and that just cripples his entire early game here.
It was an insane early game from 100 Thieves Next. I mean, the fact that we were able to pretty much get both buffs off of him really shut him down. And you can see even on the leaderboard, as NXI has a crazy outplay here with that flash. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
If you take a look at the leaderboard, he's up 22 creeps. That is about 5 camps. And up a level 2, more importantly in the jungle matchup. And this lead continued to grow throughout the game.
Yeah, this is definitely got to be some conflicting feelings here for Mark as the Nidalee aficionado on the desk, but also the man who picked Frost Forest on his fantasy team. And speaking of Frost Forest, this is definitely the roughest game that we've seen from him so far. This is more along the lines of what we kind of expect as the new jungler in the team, but a lot of props to him for, still having more positive performance than negative here. Of course, they do already have those 2 wins in this series, and he did have some nice shining light moments in the later fights as well. The Kindred ults were certainly on point, but just was not quite enough to overcome that early advantage from 100 Thieves. And yeah. Oh man, the Kalista was really, really strong. Again, it feels like both AD carries have a really strong grasp on how they want to play that champion, and it's looked really good from both of them.
I mean, like, part of the reason that the Kalista was so strong is the fact that 100 Thieves Next they were able to set up the map perfectly for their jungler in this early game, right? The fact that you put Kindred that far behind, it allows this Kalista Thresh to play so far up in the lane. And yes, Caitlyn Morgana should theoretically have a pretty decent lane into that. When you are that far behind in the jungle matchup, you have to pay a lot of respect where, in normal games, you wouldn't have to. And so really like the setup that 100 Thieves next had to ensure that this Nidalee, which is a high risk, high reward pick, paid off by having a total team investment into making sure that XI got a great start. And hey, props to him and the rest of the squad. They cashed it in big.
Yeah.
It was a huge change overall for 100 Thieves because not only is just one player getting a comfort pick, but across the board, we see copy on the Echo. And just as I was about to alluding to, we were talking about why is Fallen Bandit playing Gangplank? Why is he playing carry champions when you could just play Ornn? Because Ornn is a carry in its own right. We saw that Flares was having a difficult time in the laning phase, almost getting solo killed by Fallen Bandit a couple times. Yes, Flares went on to become a monster, but that early laning phase, like, why does Fallen Bandit need to be on anything else? Just put him on Ornn duty every single game here.
Yeah,
I mean, we
and
were
it feels
talking about we were talking about getting him on Ornn beforehand, right?
yeah,
Because and
exactly.
it's nothing like against Fallen Bandit. It's just the fact that like this guy, he's a coach, right? Like we don't know how much he's been practicing. And yes, he was a fantastic weak side player for 100 Thieves in the LCS, but putting him on these weak side picks, the ones that are going to scale into the game, be so solid moving forward, it feels like it really fits Fallen Bandit. And hey, he played Ornn great in that matchup. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to Otto too. I mean, we talked
Oh yeah.
all this time about Copy and Yawn stepping up, being the returning members, having to pick up the mantle that Kenvi and Tenacity had. But Otto in that game was incredible on the Thresh. I mean, his positioning with those lanterns with Callista was getting Yawn out of bad spots. He was the only one with like the truly hard CC to really like effectively set up Nidalee spears, and he was landing those hooks, those death sentences, those flays to make sure that NXI could land those spears and get those big chunks off. I thought Otto was actually a fantastic performer in that game, and he continues to really impress me with how much he's grown as a support throughout all of SGC this split. Keep in mind, this guy role swapped 3 months ago, and it was like he still has some off games. I think we saw that in game 2. It was really good to see him bounce back in this game and be a big part and kind of a silent factor, at least on the cast, is like why 100 Thieves Next were doing so well that game. I really thought it was off the back of his Thresh play.
It was really, really big from him. Shifting gears a little bit from that, I want to touch on the draft just a little bit because looking at what Polarace let through in that draft, they let the Ornn through for Fallen, they let the Nidalee through for NXI. If you watched the series last night, you know that's kind of a mistake. And then they picked the Caitlyn here. The first thing that I said when I saw the Caitlyn, I was like, that's a little bit cocky. That's a little bit disrespectful.
Hey man,
You know,
280.
yeah, they're up
this
2-0. She did get 280, but
Yeah.
they're up 2-0. So they've got some room for error, but it definitely feels like they kind of let their hands slip just a little bit as far as like the pregame draft goes a little bit. I would like to see if Polarace are getting their feet back on. You can't let through these champions. You can't let through the Nidalee and the Ornn again. We've seen them deny it away in the past 2 games, and then they leave it up for this one. You're gonna lose the game if you give over those champions. And now they are at a momentum loss too. So
Yeah.
it might have been a pretty big mistake here. We're on the brink of a reverse sweep, guys.
I mean, at least like the standout player for Polarace this game, it was Flares, right? On the Camille and the Ornn. He played fantastic in this series too. And in terms of like kind of how the game was played out by both teams, I just thought it was a great game plan coming out from 100 Thieves Next, right? I mean, we talked about them kind of getting outpaced against tanks in game 1 and not having damage keep up. Game 2, they got blown out of the water before the 7-minute mark. This game, they came out with an entirely different game plan. I thought both teams actually played this very well. I mean, yes, Frost Forest was brutally far behind, but I thought it was more of great gameplay coming out from 100 Thieves Next as a team, rather than him making a lot of individual mistakes to fall behind and even bounce back to steal that Ocean Drake that prevented the soul and kept him in the game for another 5 minutes. So I want to see more games like this. We had a lot of fun watching this game, and I kind of want to see 100 Thieves Next keep up this strategy of getting NXI ahead. And I'm curious to see what kind of answer Polarace has up their sleeve, because they were thrown off, I think, this game, and they've proven themselves that they're a good team. They can compete with these guys, and want to see what they bring out in this game.
Yeah, Polarace hopefully taking note that, you know what? Just because Tenacity was so resistant on taking his daily Ornn McNuggies from, the draft, that Fallen Bandit is definitely
favorite
going to
food?
take that order any single time for Papa Smithy. So we cannot disrespect that pick coming out any longer if you are Polarace going into this game 4. But for 100 Thieves, the momentum swift shift has swung back into their favor. They now realize that, hey guys, we can beat these guys. We can win this series. We just need to start playing our game again, and we need to go back to what works for the majority of our players, and mainly looking at NXI. He looks way more comfortable on the Nidalee, and if you're Polar Ace, maybe that's the angle that you have to attack in this draft. But I do believe that TJ, Ibris, and Invert are waiting on us as they are about to be ready with the draft for Game 4. Let's see if Polar Ace can close it out right here, right now, or if we're about to hear Silver Scrapes from 100 Thieves win.
Woo, woo.
We're betting on the playlist choices already. I appreciate Rafa programming ahead. Polar Ice do still have match point. 100 Thieves next are still up against the wall for at least one more game. We're talking a little bit as we headed towards this. I'm, of course, TJ, joined by Ibras, who's a regular here at the Commonwealth Club, and our new Canadian edition, Invert, one of the coaches for Dignitas. We were talking a little bit as we headed into this about the top lane. And something that I don't think we've actually touched on enough is exactly how good the Polar Ace top lane has been across this series.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of Flares since way back, of course. He made his debut in the LCS on NME back in the day. Had some hit or miss showings. It was like the meta of Ignite, TP, Top Fizz, and Hecarim. And yeah, just he has a very solo QE kind of playstyle reflected by that Riven game where he either hard carries or falls flat. And yet we saw a little bit of dynamic to it with that Ornn pick in the first game. Even the way he navigated the early to mid game in the previous game, just really pleasantly surprised to see that this guy is now going into a career renaissance.
Yeah, he knew how to play those fights as Camille, which I think is really important when you're playing a split pusher and you're kind of forced to group, You're forced to play that assassin to the back line. And I think he did a really good job with it, even in the dragon fight situation where he got to mark the Echo, push that Echo out of the fight completely, and then their team fight was a little ruined. But now we see that Ashe being hovered. It looks like that pick finally goes through after games.
I want to call out our bans before we get too into the Ashe, though, because we did see, and I'm counting here, 3 jungle bans against NXI, who I might add is the most recent addition to that 100x roster. Graves, Nidalee, and Lee Sin all off the cards. Ashe first lock for Polar Ace. 100x will get themselves an Ezreal and an Ornn.
Yeah, while this is security on that hotly contested Ashe pick that had, as you mentioned, been banned out every game so far this series, Polar Ace, by losing the previous game, had side selection, I imagine, so they chose blue side specifically for this Ashe pick, and that denies Flares the counter pick top, but he gets it anyway because they lock Ornn because it's Fallen Bandit, why wouldn't you? But at the same time, I'm like, Polar Ace, maybe trying something different now after a pretty rocky start to the previous game, especially in that jungle position.
They have room to experiment for one more. As we move on with this draft, I do want to catch you up on the jungle, because that is the Kindred that we talked about being so hotly contested, going over to Polar Ice. What do 100x draft into it with the entire popular jungle pool banned out here?
Yeah, Kindred in this case, a little weird still. Not great into the Ezreal. Remember that poke is what's really strong into Kindred, and that can be poke at some point. Level 11, the Kha'Zix normally levels that W, gets the needles coming out, and so yeah, I mean, I like the Kha'Zix pick here. I like
Ivan more, just so you know, but I think Ivan would have been the way to go here.
I like Kha'Zix. The buffs have been really good. We've seen it on the LEC stage in particular, and it's comboed really well with some of the team fighting mids, such as Orianna. I think Selfmade and Nemesis did a really good job showing that. And yeah, I mean, I think what 100 Thieves has is a very clear scaling condition right now. Ezreal scales well into the Ashe. He spikes a lot earlier, and he doesn't he loses lane phase gracefully, and that's the best you could hope for against an Ashe who has so much control, especially if they have that support counter pick possibility. The Kale ban I really like on the side of 100 Thieves, prevents that 1-3-1 possibility with Ashe controlling the mid lane and the Kale and the LeBlanc on the side.
Yeah, I'd really like to see Galio come out here from either of these teams, but
TF
okay, I
is
guess
great
that is
too.
kind of Galio. Galio light.
Mhm.
The slim, sleek version of Galio, and the TF gets picked up into the mid lane. That will be into the LeBlanc. I want to highlight Polar Ace, a much more lightweight, damage-focused comp here, and I'm already seeing trouble ahead for them if we head towards the late game Ibras. They
Did
get the
actually
Shen as
see
well, though, and this will be a mid-game team-fighting terror, right?
did actually see that LeBlanc being banned out before here, so I have a lot of respect for it, regardless of the way this kind of draft plays out. And you mentioned team fights. Yeah, Ashe comps do tend to trend into those eventually. Same for the Kindred kind of comps. But Shen LeBlanc, all about that split push, all about that 1-3-1 that we mentioned. And that does mean that if the TF goes to match LeBlanc in a side lane, not only will he struggle because, hey, it's LeBlanc, but it's basically a 2v1 because you just have the Shen ult ready and waiting to be dropped if there's any sign of trouble.
Yeah, and the Kha'Zix hopefully is able to mirror that too, right? So we'll see if that's the case. We see Blitz being hovered. Ezreal Blitzcrank, not a lane you normally see, but introducing volatility into a side lane is really important when you pick Twisted Fate. And so
Yep.
them trying to do that, I think, helps a lot with the draft they're trying to pull off. The TF and the Kha'Zix, they want to be roaming around. They want the lanes to be volatile. I think we're going to see that out of this bot lane, which is something we were hoping for with the Yon redemption arc.
I mean, on the other hand, you could just see the Ezreal relegated to farming duty under the tower while the Blitzcrank goes for a bit of a roam. Ezreal, of course, notoriously safe. But yeah, at the same time, Ornn, weak side top, of course, almost exclusively guarantees that we'll see the TF play for the bottom side. Shen, beautiful counter pick into TF, by the way. Not only the global to follow his global, but you pop the W, eat the gold card, and it's smooth sailing from there on out.
I want to say, and I'll throw this your way, Invert, this is maybe the first time in this entire series that I've looked at a draft and been like, oh, 100x have won it. Would you agree with that?
I think both sides have very clear win conditions, and I like 100 X's condition. I like the Kha'Zix pick in particular. I think a lot of the squishier members on the side of Polar Ace are vulnerable to this Kha'Zix. And I think the point and click CC of the TF and the volatility of the Blitzcrank lane can introduce a lot of opportunity to 100 Thieves and give them that chance to win this game.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I think that 100 Thieves are looking a little shaky in terms of how they hold down this LeBlanc. We mentioned the side lane, but also if this is an APTF, not really a champion for the first couple of stages of the game, and it does mean that we should see this LeBlanc from BoostCOC have full dominion over the map, ready to roam, ready to do her own thing, and just take over the game.
Yeah, you know what they say, Ibris, the best form of CC is death. And if Kha'Zix can just get onto the LeBlanc, we see a really good chance of just immediate one shot without any sort of armor built on her part.
I do want to highlight, though, that is Busio, possibly the best performance we've seen in Challengers Uprising from him was on the LeBlanc. He looks real scary on the LeBlanc when he can play it well. That's exactly the kind of high mechanics, high skill expression character that someone like Busio can absolutely obliterate people on. So that's a additional factor in the Polar Ice bag, right?
Yeah.
Even when you have Shen up in top lane limiting Flares' expression a little bit, we have more Busio than we have had any other game during the series.
Yeah, issue is that this is the rhythm of mid lane, basically, where you're either on the ball and you are on it, or you're just kind of there. Yeah, not a lot to be said about that unless it does pop off entirely.
The Riven worked out, so skill expression so far so good. We'll wrap things back as we always do, ending this invert. You've seen the draft. You've seen all 3 games so far. Does our series end here?
I need to stick with my prediction at this point, so I'm gonna say no. I think this is 100 Thieves next one.
Ibras?
I think the LeBlanc dart hits, and whether that is going to be through a 1-3-1 or a just sheer dominance of the lane phase because TF is AFK, yeah, time will tell. But yeah, definitely think that Polar Ace going to close this one out 3-1 in their favor.
Oh, he's converted to my side, and I have to say,
I was converted to your side on game 2. I was like, yeah,
well,
they're
they
going to win this
believe
one
you
too.
then. You're a little bit of a fair weather fan. Now they've lost a game. Like,
I've
actually, no,
stuck.
you're
I've
again.
stuck to my principles, TJ.
I
at
can't
least
stick
you
to
do
mine because mine got invalidated after game 1 or something.
that.
Sounds like you made a bad prediction, Ibris, and you need to own that. I do want to say on the other side that the Busio mid lane is like where my hopes are pinned here. Obviously, we have Shen on flares, and I'm kind of excited to see, those TPs, how well timed that will be, because a good Shen can be game changing. But I will say that he's much less of a kill threat than he has been previously. This isn't Riven on flares, so I need someone else on Polar Ice to step up to fill that void. I think Busio can, but it's a key question for me coming into this series.
Yeah, I think the double global threat of the Ashe plus Shen is something we kind of slept on as well. Just a lot of solid pick potential between that, LeBlanc just globaling someone. Well, I say global, I mean one shot. Global is, of course, global cooldown, not global on the map. My games are getting all blurred into one in my brain, okay? Thank you, thank you.
What time is it in the UK?
Anyone that played WoW PvP understands what I mean by that. It is 3:52 a.m. I'm here for it. I'm living for it. League of Legends, let's go. But
I admire it.
Thank you. Dedication. We've been here since what, 8 my time? Yeah, 8 my time. Anyway, back to it. You got the Ashe Arrow. You've thrown me
He's
off
lost
now.
his breath.
Ashe Arrow, Stan United.
Shen
It's all good
all.
stuff. Yeah.
All right. Well, I stand
It's
united
some-
with
it's
you
some
on
good stuff.
that.
Beautiful.
I want to go to you in the Dignitas facility with everything all set up behind you. First of all, did you get your dinner? Are you getting your dinner? There was something.
Yeah, eventually, yeah.
Eventually.
But
Okay.
I'm
In
eating
the-
some
in the
good League of
Dignitas
Legends
facility
right now.
with your eyes on the draft, I know you're hungry for League of Legends. You said that you still believed in 100x. I
Yeah.
have to ask, going back to the mid lane duel that we set up for Busio, being the carry, have you been impressed with Copy?
I haven't been as impressed with Copy. I think this matchup is a lot easier for TF than people otherwise think.
Ooh.
Oh my
Ward,
As
Ward,
we see
Ward.
this level 1. They're going to sweep
It
it
is
out,
warded.
hopefully. Yeah, they do sweep it out, so they know they're spotted. Looks like they're not going to commit. But I do like TF into LeBlanc if you can play it correctly. Normally the correct way to play it is, LeBlanc isn't going to be able to clear the wave all that well early. So make sure that you're the one getting to the wave first. Make sure you're the one able to play it out properly. Oh, they're looping back. Let's see if this works out.
Oh my god, second time's the charm? You might have spun it up us the first time, but there's no way you'd expect us to still be in this bush. 100 Thieves say.
Oh, but the ward does come down.
Here they go.
Oh,
Here they go. Spawn. He doesn't have an
Flash.
out. But the boy
Oh,
took
that's a
missions.
miss.
Spawn. How well played was that? He stays alive. Auto doesn't land it. The ward is there to contest this buff tank.
Yeah, typically very worth to go flash for flash on that one. Didn't even need to escape from that on spawn. Means he'll have his flash for that initial level 6 on the TF if the TF does immediately go bot with the Destiny as well. So yeah, really crucial that Spawn was able to sidestep that, and an uncharacteristic mistake from Auto's otherwise pretty clean blitz.
They do blow the TP as well. I think that is something to really consider as the Shen gets to get a free base, like a cheater base, and come back out with either TP advantage to make a play bottom, or just use the TP in order to make that happen.
Yeah, so 6 minute 30, that real point to watch in the top lane, because that's when Ornn gets kill pressure, thanks to the spellbook and the fact that he is a combat ult. Shen doesn't really. Level 2 for the bot lane though.
2 hero at level 2.
Oh, no.
Sidestep Auto's hook again. Maybe the late hour getting to the players here. I want to highlight what Frost Forest is doing in the jungle right now. As Busio does engage on the copy. That's a root. That
That's
could
a
be a
kill.
kill, and it is first blood to Busio. Right as we said he had to step up, there it is.
Very.
Invert, you said that this LeBlanc that the TF had to play this matchup correctly. Was that correctly?
No, not quite. You know, you have to keep your range. I think he aggressively pushed the lane as well, which is not what you really want to be doing at this stage. You want to play it more even. So eventually you want to push out the LeBlanc level 5 with your Q constantly being thrown from a screen away. But that was definitely not the way to play it. We're actually going to see this LeBlanc able to snowball if he plays it correctly now. So looking forward to that. A bit spooky on the side of Copy. At the very least, he gets to keep his summoners.
Yeah, I do want to touch on the fact that this TF didn't hold the LeBlanc at tower, because if you hold the wave there, she A, has to get in tower range if she wants to W the backline of creeps, and B, is pretty shoved up if Kha'Zix wants to come for a bit of a loop around. I don't expect a roam here from Copy, just threatening in the fog of war. Of course, Ghost will mean he reaches top lane pretty quickly. Instead, you're seeing the TF just take the smaller Raptors. That's because TF passive, of course, 1 to 6 gold at random, you roll the dice. To pick up the smaller ones. Didn't actually take those because they went up. Never mind, I'm trolling. But hey, the TF doing what he can right now, which is not a lot.
Say 3 a.m. Ibris is like.
I was fine till you reminded me what time it was.
I'm sorry, it's like looking down. You can't ever. Right. Don't
It's
ever
like
look at the
when you stare at the clock, yeah, the seconds count a little slower, you know. Don't stare at the clock, stare at the game.
Stare at the game clock as we are nearing that first Drake of the game. Flares will interrupt my point, but we're nearing that first Drake of the game, and this aggressive bot lane, Eon and Auto, have found nothing, which kind of opens up the battle here.
I think part of that does have to do with the flash that was blown by Blitz. Of course, hitting hooks like that isn't going to help either. And another part of it is they don't actually have the TF pressure yet. So waiting till that 6, Kindred is starting the dragon. This is Cloud, so this dragon does do a lot of damage. We'll see if he can solo it.
Working away at it. In the meantime, the lane will be shoved down bottom, so it doesn't look like there's any threat. I briefly thought that NXT might might contest that.
Oh no!
The Shen W was used.
Oh my god! Gold card will be spent. Flares onto Fallen Bandit. Will finds the kill.
He's doing it.
Oh my god! NXI will arrive, and that might be just a 1-for-1 trade. Still a win for Flares, considering.
Yeah, and he has TP, remember, so he can just go back and catch that wave once he has his TP up.
Kind of a clumsy flash W, kind of clumsy just random W from the Shen there in lane. I do want to touch on the heavy emphasis on vision wards, especially in the pixel brushes in the river, but here's the commitment.
The hook finally does land. Eon will flash away, but he's still shut down. Bucio's got one. Auto should be the second, but Copy's arriving behind this fight. Frost Forest may take down.
Shen
ulti. Fine. What a good ulti. And now Copy himself is in huge trouble. Underneath the turret will barely survive. Here comes Fallen Bandit, the coach, with the ulti. He'll get Frost Forest. Oh, that's 2 kills. Oh, that's 3 kills.
Copy lives.
Back of Fallen Bandit. They could get the quads, and they do. 2 going at NXI's pocket as 100 Thieves next are back in this early game.
Copy creating enough distance between himself and the Shen and the Ashe to actually ult out of that fight defensively, getting himself out of a position he had no business escaping, and 100 Thieves. Yes, it was a play instigated by Polar Ace. Yes, that top lane was a bit of a hard commitment considering they gave Drake and all semblance of bot side priority, but they clean up Polar Ace. They take too long to commit. They kill the pink ward. They're like, all right, do we follow up on this? They chill for a bit. And it takes them some time to actually clean this one up.
Oh my
and the Shen coming in at a pretty crucial time too, and Copy just getting hit by that hook. Once he tries to go for the flank, it's just a bit too much. But he does get out thanks to Ghost.
Disengage.
Fallen
Bandit deleting. Oh my god.
Signature on. Let's go.
I'm so sorry for clowning on the coach. Fallen Bandit goes huge, and despite an early deficit, I mean, Fallen Bandit cleaned up the mess he made for all intents and
Look at him
purposes.
trying to freeze with Balmy Cinder. Good luck.
Nice, slowly but surely. So the Kazakhs evolve. If we could get a good idea, it looks like it's the Q, which isn't what I've normally seen coming out of Kazakh since the buff. I could be wrong, but it could be the Q, it could be the ulti. But you see that damage coming in, absolutely. Stellar stuff.
Flares will go right into this fight. NXI
Arrow.
There's Ash Arrow.
Arrow. It goes wide. Auto still in trouble. Copy as well. Stunned up by Busio. Auto, oh, like sliver of HP. We'll get behind the turn. In the meantime, Copy's gone into stasis. He'll be scooped up. And Busio finds something more for his bank account. We said he had to carry this game. Is he on track, Invert?
It looks like Frost Forest almost helped Copy out there with a little Kindred alt love. But yeah, I mean, Busio gets the solo kill. It's a really, really good option. And even further than that, the LeBlanc is pretty close to that Ludens. We see a TP. It looks like a dive may happen on bot.
Yeah, Flares is in trouble. Stun will land. Ornhorn connects. Fallen Bandit in for some more coaching plays. He says right-click on that guy I just stunned. And it all works out.
Yeah, even if the Shen didn't die there, you still get the Ornn Unstoppable to soak the taunt. Really clean execution. Issue is you lose a ton of plates top. And again, we're seeing from 100 Thieves, they leave Yon on his own in the bot lane, doing his own thing, while Herald's going down, plates are going down, all of this kind of stuff. Yes, it's safe. Yes, it's an investment that paid off last game. But unless he steps up like he did last game, we may very well just see a repeat of games 1 and 2.
Yeah, and the Herald actually takes the turret right on time for this next dragon, if you think about how the bases are going to work. So getting the Herald to crash here, obviously pretty important, but getting the bases off so that they get to this mountain dragon on time can be super important as the Herald phases completely. Wow, that's that Herald really wanted to get into tier 2.
Can we get a replay of that? Just throw that out there. I just want a replay of the Herald plays.
Harold teleported behind you and said, "Nothing personal, kid."
Oh, actually, by the way, Mecha Kazakhs, when he's black, it means he's upgraded his R. Obviously starts off the game, I believe, gray or purple or blue, not that color, and now he's upgraded his stealth,
so
I believe.
So the ulti is normally the first upgrade, and we're looking at the W potentially as the second upgrade. This Kazakhs is just going to be very, very strong. The ulti upgrade, of course, 2 seconds of stealth, nothing to scoff at. Really difficult to deal with at later stages of the game, especially if he's going to be flanking.
You remember when it was like stealth every time he entered and exited a bush?
Oh yeah, so when I was on coaching FlyQuest Academy, we would use that Kazakhs all the time, and our jungler Shrimp, I love Shrimp to death. He would always say that he's going on an adventure because you would just weave around the entire map and just go on an adventure
and everything else as soon as he just pops into a bush. It was insane.
You could go from one of the bushes in red jungle all the way to the blue wolves, actually.
Can you go top though without that? I guess so.
NXI in here as Flares has to flash away. NXI's a little bit short, but he still reaches them. Copy's there as well. 3 players again needed up top to take down Flares, but they do. 100 Thieves still able to find picks during the early game.
Oh, and there's another one.
Yep, maybe. Auto did find Hero. That won't be the completed kill. It's the true shot slightly wide, and it's actually a re-engage from Hero. He's in the stasis here. Has to blow a flash of his own to stay alive.
How are you gonna hit a blind dragon steal from across the map with an Ezreal ult? but missed the Nautilus that sat in melee reach of you in lane. That being said, though, really well executed by 100 Thieves bot lane there to turn that fight after getting that cool hook. And we do have Busio fishing for the cleanup, but it's not going to happen. 100 Thieves, very well played. LeBlanc is 3-1. And yet she did nothing for the past minute and a half while they made plays across the map.
Trading hooks.
2-hero does get stand united. Flares comes in off the
Ignite
back of it.
finishes
Busio
them
did
off.
try and arrive here in the
Busio?
mid lane, but Copy had the gold card. So Busio just gets cancelled on his engage.
Not great for Otto to walk back up there. His team was not there in time at all. There's no TF ulti. The Kha'Zix is nowhere near them when they start. And even though it looks funny to trade hooks, it doesn't look funny to die. So not great stuff on the side of 100 Thieves. If they want to get back in this game, they cannot be doing stuff like that.
Yeah, and we look at this Polar Ace lineup as having decent single item spikes. Of course, Luden's for LeBlanc, Blade for Ash when those do come through, but here's more top lane skirmishing. Shen has percentage damage.
So, yeah, so this gets kind of dangerous. Flares is doing a lot here. There's no turret to hide behind either. And here comes Busio. That's just an easy kill. Very well played.
Is this going to be just as easy by NXI?
Maybe.
Spawn
He's
is
in
here.
trouble. Lamb's Respite will be spent. NXI's initial engage is cancelled, but Auto and NXI just stay here, and Spawn reaps the ward. Huge damage.
Busio
into
could
Auto.
clean up. Busio is here. Busio is not going to do anything because his bot lane's already disengaged.
I do
Fine.
think he is going to base for the Ludens.
Yeah, definitely. He's been on this for ages now and has so much gold in the bank.
Yeah, I think it's a good reset timer.
Yeah, these single item spikes are insane for the side of Polar Ace, honestly. Looking at 100 Thieves next, of course. Still fairly formidable, but you're looking at the Mana Moon, you're looking at the Rod of Ages, the Cull as well that was in the Ezreal inventory, still is, by the way, 7 stacks on that. Scaling. Ornaments as well. Again, just something to wait a little bit for. And this time around, 100 Thieves not actually being punished for picking a comp that maybe is a little bit inactive in the early game, largely because skill shots seem to be going wide left and right on both teams so far this game.
Yeah, I think the late hour really is getting to people. It's the first best of 5 we've played here at Challengers Uprising, but it's certainly an effect I've observed before.
Yeah, and if you're not as experienced, best of 5 can really be grating. You know, you're not really, it's very different from just grinding those solo queue games over and over again. Your communication really needs to be on point. Your understanding of the map needs to be on point as well. So, for example, in this instance, Coffee walking up for that mid wave when he doesn't see anyone in the top lane matching the orange should be a red flag. But, for players who aren't as experienced, who don't understand the state of the map as much, they may lose that sense of what they should walk up
TFR,
for.
teleport, everything.
2-0 so far forward. He's just gone in the meantime. Down bottom, Flares is in big trouble. That's Fallen and Eon trying to finish that kill. Flares and Spawn will go in. Here's Busio over the wall. Yon has to just jump away. Fallen Bandit does have the ult. Both the Call the Forge God and the True Shot go wide. Flares is running into the alcove, and he will manage to escape the hook, but not the gold card. NXI grabs that kill. 100 Thieves find
Busio?
2 more down bottom. This should be the drag.
Yeah,
Busio.
insane commitment from both sides there. You saw the globals come down, Shen ult to open it up, Nautilus pulling the trigger on a hard engage, Destiny, teleport, everything, and it's still ongoing.
Busio still has ult.
2-0 over the wall for the Nautilus steal? I'm a little confused. And XI will just await that input.
Yeah, you saw that Frost Forest didn't actually move up to steal that. It's because if you walk forward as the Kindred there, you just eat the gold card, can't press R to stop yourself from insta-dying, and it's all doom and gloom from there on out. If you open with the R before getting near, the Blitz just hooks you out of it. So it's kind of, you're caught between a rock and a hard place. You have no business contesting that. And honestly, 100 Thieves did very well to get that, and looks like they'll continue to snowball this with a... Nope, not even going to contest the Herald. At least we see Polar Ace potentially trading something back.
Yeah, one of the underrated things I realized in the middle of that fight, I don't think we saw it yet, but the Blitzcrank ultimate is going to be incredible into the Shen ultimate. Completely cancels it out, removes the shield, and then does damage after the fact. I think that should be. Oh my goodness. I think that should be a really critical point in team fights that Flares has to watch out for if that Blitzcrank ult is up or not.
Here comes the Rift Tower, dropped almost immediately into the mid lane.
Yeah, this tower is gone. The Ezreal must base.
Yeah, these tier 1 turrets, really crucial to get down here in the early game if you're this pick comp. Gives you more Fog of War to work with in terms of getting a Naut hook out of Fog of War, getting an Ashe arrow out of Fog of War, having Shen push up just that little bit further on that side of the map, or, you know, pretty convincingly, as we're going to see longer the game goes on, just have that human Nidalee Spear in LeBlanc, sit in Fog of War, and blow up whoever the hell decides to face check.
Overloading mid.
Yeah, so here's the shove in mid. This will be a turret. I don't think there's anything to be done about it. 2Hero disagrees. He'll hook in. Glacial Arrow did connect, but this is a wild dive.
Why?
Spawn's just deleted. Oh, that should just be the end of the fight. 2Hero still pushing forward, though. Did not get that memo. 100x get a turret and another kill, and that was weird from Polar Ice.
Kha'Zix LeBlanc Ashe.
Yep, I mean, that's what I said at the start of this game, right? I think the Kha'Zix is pretty potent at one-shotting a lot of these squishies like Ashe and LeBlancs who don't have immediate counterplay, you know? The hard CC isn't consistent. It's not necessarily consistent to get that onto the Kha'Zix. And you saw it there too. The Kha'Zix stealths for 2 seconds, the Shen tries to taunt him, and NXI just puts on his dancing shoes and just doesn't get caught. Gets the assassination, gets out, and now we have a 7-0 Kha'Zix in this game. It's going to be very difficult to even react properly with things like the Kindred ult into his damage.
I think this game has been wild. I want to take a moment to take stock. 100x, as we hit the mid game, seem to have survived the danger. I would narrowly put them in control. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely agree with that from here, honestly, because we said TF, Ezreal, Ornn, investment champs, scale up. You got the tier build for the Manamune, you have the Rod of Ages, you have the Ornn items from the passive. These are all screaming scale, 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 late game, late game, late game, and yet you now have this insanely fed assassin bug ready and willing and presently doing the bridging of the gap between your early to mid to late games just through sheer carry force.
And you were talking about bugs. I guess someone in the game thought there was a
They tried to fish for the Rift Herald replay.
Yeah, they're like, hey, no, they were like, hey, this Kha'Zix, this bug in this game. Can we do something about this? Yeah,
we're back.
I like it.
We're not back.
Hey,
the game on pause.
Welcome back to the caster desk. Ibra's unraveling a conspiracy theory in the meantime. We've been talking about this entire series as a roller coaster ride, and we briefly mentioned it earlier when we were talking about best of fives going late. I think we are obviously seeing both teams kind of feel the impact of it here as these games have gotten much, much more sloppy. Polar Ice are just making mistakes in shot calling, it feels like. Would you agree with that, Inver?
Yeah, not just that. I think the way that they're trying to play this comp out is poor. You know, it's a poor understanding of what their conditions are. They want the LeBlanc to be away from the action. They don't want her around.
Hook.
Oh no, has not wanted to hook this game, and he's not starting now, but it doesn't matter. The engage comes through. Lucio to the backline. Copy is here. 100x trade 1-for-1. Fallen Bandit misses the ulti though. Spawn and Forrest will run away. Watch out for Spawn here as he's trying to kite behind 2Hero. 2Hero himself will fall, and Bandit's got the turn. Copy his sliver of HP. Will be taken away, and Spawn survived. I do not know how. Do not ask me, but it doesn't matter because NXI's got the damage. Fallen very low. Should be picked up. No! Yes!
Red buff.
Spawn finds the trade, and there is one player left on the map for both these teams.
Difference being that one of these players can solo the Infernal Drake.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. NXI able to solo this Drake. Look how quickly he does it too. That Q damage is melting this dragon, so he's able to get off the map immediately and come back for the next play.
Yeah, I think you had a
Sports says,
really
"Oh yeah, we'll all
poignant point.
solo Baron."
Yeah, well, not quite. Yeah, I think Invert had a really poignant point about the LeBlanc at this stage of the game, where essentially she's her team's Kha'Zix. Before Auto was lining up the hook, I got a little bit too excited because, you know, I don't know why I haven't learned to not be excited for these random Blitzcrank hooks that have just gone wide consistently this game, but nature of the champion, I guess.
Sooner or later, yeah, one will hit, and then you'll get the payoff you want.
Exactly. That's how we do it. That's why I love the champion. You take all the agency out of the enemy team's hands because you're like, all right, I'm either gonna not do anything by missing this hook and lose my team the game, or I'm gonna hit your carry and win my team the game. Live or die by the Blitzcrank.
Red buff here just saves the day.
Oh. Spawn's movement in that fight is exactly why we've been hyping him up so much, though. Just like the way he survived that fight from the standard movement of being able to kite behind two heroes, staying really safe and just barely out of range, to that last stitch of movement to stay ahead of NXI was actually incredible.
Yeah, so of course NXI shining really, really heavily as the individual Kha'Zix jungler here, but honestly, Invert, from a coach's perspective here, gonna grill you on stream, because why not? Tell me what you're taking away as a positive for 100 Thieves next macro here, short of this Kha'Zix being huge, but nope, no time for that.
Oh, the hook lands! Auto
Great
finally
Kindred
the next collapser spike will be spent, but it may already be too late. Spawn's in huge trouble in the middle of this fight, and he does go down. They traded out for NXI, and that's a massive shutdown, though. Auto's just trying to kite away from the back of this fight as Tomb Hero chases. Him and Flares are fighting down at the side of this fight, and they are outnumbered and outgunned. They will be shut down one by one as Bandit and Yon finally come online, but it's Busio for a trade right back. That will be what he needs to do, as Auto finally shuts down 2 Hero. It's just barely keeping the trading close. It's still a player advantage, of course, to 100x, but they can't do anything with it with their jungler down.
Yeah, you saw the tick, tick, tick on the seconds for that mimic from the LeBlanc. It eventually comes back up and gets a trade kill back. Unfortunately, even though Polar Ace got that initial pick onto NXI, they lost Spawn, and Spawn is their consistent damage, especially since this Kindred had so much focused onto her. Very, very good ultimate is Invert correctly identified. Not quite enough to save the fight, but makes it close enough that we're thinking, alright, maybe Polar Ace can turn this. Unfortunately, you have a Nautilus free-eating spells, you have a Kindred never really in a position to join the fight, Shen's there too, mildly inconveniencing people, but not doing much of anything really. And by the time the cooldowns are back up for LeBlanc, yes, she connects onto both carries. Ezreal's full health at the start of it though, so yeah, cool. It's a cleanup, but it's not completely clean. It's like half tidying your room at this point.
Yeah, and the way Polar Ace is playing this, as you know, this is kind of what they want.
Flares
Auto
will finally get a free pick here, and he's getting scary. Gold on hand at the end of that fight because he shut down NXI.
Yeah, this is exactly what they want. They want LeBlanc on a side. They want to just overload one side and help the LeBlanc, or put the LeBlanc on the other side.
True shot in for Vision. NXI still in the area. Here comes the call to Forge God. Full and Bandit looking to zone people off of the take. Frost Force, no HP. Flares also chipped down. The take is cancelled. Copy did TP in. That will be quickly converted towards mid lane as Polar Ace can get nothing done there.
Yeah, a little bit clumsy on the TFR there. Couldn't read you on!
Over the wall! Under Spawn! NXI, you're kidding me! He's instantly hooked up and somehow he may still get away. The blast code takes him safe. Full of Bandits there for the stun up. He slips away into the night. 100 Thieves don't lose their jungler just yet, but Eon's in trouble. We'll have to get over the wall. 2 Hero and Flares are chasing now. I don't think they can catch up despite their best efforts.
100 Thieves next on the retreat here, and with 30 seconds on that Drake, it's at least a solid setup from the side of Polar Ace. That being said, though, we live and die by this Blitzcrank hook. See if Auto can line up a miracle. Copy got a decent reset too. Has his Ghost if he really needs to join rapid fire quick. And should be able to see Spawn again in the targeting sights of the TF gold card, of the Kazakhstan.
Here it is! Oh, it's just deleted! Frost Forest gone! And now the fight should unravel. Two heroes
Spawn
down
had a
as
bad
well.
QSS.
And everything has worked out for 100 Thieves next, as they find 4 kills inside the jungle. And just like that, the Drake is theirs.
Yeah, in
Drake.
the
Let's get
QSS
Baron
kind of
too.
They certainly have the time. Take a look at this replay. Watch that hook.
Yeah, the hook was clean. Hit the Kindred. They kill her before she can ult. Nice. That's how you do it, really. I don't know how you missed the multiple hitbox, considering he's pretty
The
big.
silence from Auto helped a lot too. That Blitzcrank
Yeah, really,
ulti
really solid.
making sure.
Oh,
But yeah,
the
no
When the
QSS.
card is mid-air. Oh.
Yeah. But I think even if he did hit the QSS, you know, doesn't really want to use Flash. He's probably dead anyways. But yeah, this Kazakhs really putting in work. The Blitz, you know, we talked about it. Idris, just the one hook, you know, just one hook, all you need, Ibris, and we got it. So
Yep, that is what I was promised, and honestly, what wasn't delivered until then. But hey, you win some, you lose some. And honestly, looking forward at the rest of this game, again, just looking for picks on both sides. Ash Arrow into LeBlanc combo, Blitz Hook, Kha'Zix just randomly deciding to hard commit, and why wouldn't you? Bought the entire LDR on that base, by the way. So, yeah, doing a sizable chunk of damage. Zonya's Ninja Tabi be damned.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he could just one-shot this Shen as well.
And it's been a long road to that hook. Oh, my lord.
There's that
That
Ash.
arrow will land. Fallen Bandit there at his own, though, and that just completely turns the fight. It doesn't matter that you use that arrow well, because Flares is in huge trouble. Redemption will be spent. There's going to be a nice stasis out from Copy to stay alive. After he maybe overcommits, he will survive the experience. And 2 heroes, the rest of his team, the rest of Polar Ace, are shattered back behind their turrets.
Yeah, I think the game
coming up huge again.
I think the game has just gotten to a point where the way that Polar Ace wants to play their comp is just not possible anymore. You know, the LeBlanc wants to be on the side. They don't want to be grouping up against these big tanks who can just pick them off at any point. Instead, LeBlanc has to be grouped. She has to find these really, really creative angles. And the Kindred as well is just not strong enough compared to the Kazakhs. So even if they do get into these situations, the Ornn, the Blitz, they'll start the fight, and then suddenly you see a bug popping up on your screen, instantly one-shotting you, turning your screen gray, and making sure that, you know, we're getting into Game 5.
Yeah, exactly that, honestly, because even if they won 3-1, the Blitz presses W, Righteous Glory, the Kazakhs just jumps in, the, you know, Ornn engages from 3 screens away, the TF presses R, whatever. Whoever is sent mid and allocated towards just clearing waves is gonna get screwed. 5v3 in their face, bam, 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 trigger is pulled, they are dead. And yeah, that's in a 1-3-1 scenario. At the moment, it's been happening in a 5v5 scenario too, and we're slowly watching the bleed out from Polar Ace's comp. The only real way back in is if we see NXI get a little bit too greedy, bite off a little bit more than he can chew, die, and really that has to be at the start of the fight before he can kill anyone. And yeah, you're looking at Boost COC, you're looking at Spawn, these 2 big major carries of this comp to start racking up the damage.
Yeah, and I think
They have to go huge here. I want to highlight for 100x what has changed, because we've obviously hit a pause state here. NXI, I think, is the big story here. This was his 2nd ever live game with this composition, and he has just been on fire.
yeah, he's worked really well with this team so far. I totally agree with the talk at the start of the day about 100 Thieves next being a team that is willing to play around their jungler, even if the jungler is not Kenby. It's someone totally different. The style remains the same, and that's all you can ask from an amateur team, is just that element of consistency.
He had big shoes to fill, and so far NXI is doing it, which is not a
Oh
sentence
my
I would have said.
God.
As he almost
He's certainly doing it.
instantly deletes Fusio. He's already gone, and that's the cue for the execute. Yard will find one, make it 2 for NXI, make it 3 as he hunts down Forest. That is going to be game. Ladies and gentlemen, call your friends, bring up your family, sit them down in front of the TV. We're going all the way to game 5 here in the semifinals. 100 Thieves next have run it all the way back. Your series scoreline is tied at 2.
15, 1, and 7 in this jungler's debut under the 100 Thieves Academy banner. Beautiful Kha'Zix play, gets his momentum again after a phenomenal Nidalee game in the previous game. I didn't even know what to say. This guy is just NXI. What a carry jungler. Seriously. You love to see it, honestly. And it feels like he grows that organically every time by himself.
That's the real redemption arc, you know. The first 2 games, not quite there, getting those picks spammed out, brings out the Nidalee, brings out the Kha'Zix, showing everyone who runs the jungle in this series. And I think he's doing a really, really good job kind of understanding his pathing, understanding where he needs to be, getting to his camps on time, just naturally winning out in the jungle in that way. He's just being more efficient. And I think his team is playing around him a lot better.
Yeah, 2 games in a row, he's made this Kindred look like a trundle, honestly. Like, can't even begin to describe how insane that is. And seriously, this just, we thought it would be the bot lane stepping up. We thought it'd be the mid lane stepping up, seeing, you know, their compatriots of the rookie generation getting promoted. But it's the new face again, looking so good for 100x. The rest are looking good too, but let's be real, that was all the Kha'Zix.
We got to pack things up here on the desk because I'm sure we have a desk jumping at the bit. I'm sure we have a game 5 being loaded into the cannon. I want to end things where we started this with NXI, with the jungle hero. Do you think your prediction is correct? Are we going 3-2 all the way invert?
Yeah, I really like what I'm seeing out of 100 Thieves. They first adapted in the bot lane. They took away the Callista. They made sure they had the priority and did something with it. And now they're playing off of really, really good map play. They have the TF, the Kha'Zix roaming around. Remember that this team was down in the early game off of the mid laner getting solo killed, right? Like, this team was able to claw back from a deficit early in this game, and I think that's something that you should be really looking forward to if you're a 100 Thieves next fan. They won off the snowball, they won off coming back, and now I think doing both of those things can help them secure the 3rd win.
You've stuck to your guns the whole time, and you may be about to be rewarded. We've got a game 5 ready to go. Definitely make sure anyone you know is watching this, because we are going all the way in our first semi-final. We'll, of course, be back again tomorrow, so you won't want to miss it. For now, we're going to go to a lightning fast break. Game 5 in the pipe after this.
Name.